So we have a massive rematch going down at UFC 320, and I am really concerned for Alex Pereira because we all know that Poatan is one of the biggest stars in the UFC. While it feels like his aura and star power has been dampened since his loss to Magomed Ankalaev, he still is, without question, one of the bigger names and more exciting fighters in the UFC. But I just can't help but feel like, man, that he has ran into the guy that has the answers to beat him, right? Clearly, because he went out there and beat him the first time. But I believe that Ankalaev just has a super troubling style that I don't know that Alex is going to have the answers for. And in this video, I'm going to be highlighting why I think the Poatan fans out there should be concerned for him coming into this fight against Magomed Ankalaev, because a lot of the narratives coming into the first fight were Ankalaev's just a grappler. He's not that good of a striker and all these different things. And I feel like maybe you've woken up by now and realized Magomed Ankalaev, he is not just a grappler. If anything, he is mainly a striker who does have a very good grappling skill set, but he gave Alex Pereira a number of problems in the first fight to where it is going to be very interesting to see how Alex Pereira approaches him in the rematch, because I feel like there's a lot riding on this, man. Like, Alex Pereira was at one point one of the biggest stars in the UFC. I feel like it's been dampened a little bit, but with a victory in a rematch like this against Magomed Ankalaev, the only guy to beat him at 205 pounds, I feel like there's some big options that could lie ahead for Alex, man. Not to say that if he loses to Ankalaev again that these things couldn't happen, but he was already the middleweight champ, became the light heavyweight champ, and then if he could win his belt back and then move up and challenge for the heavyweight title, I mean, we're talking about some crazy stuff that could be ahead for Poatan, but it all starts and stops with getting through his hardest stylistic matchup at light heavyweight. Does he have the answers? We're going to talk about it in this video, what I saw in the first fight and kind of how I see things playing out and some of the decisions that I think Alex and his camp are going to have to make coming into this fight. Because, guys, it is very obvious to me that Alex Pereira in the first fight was very concerned about the threat of the takedown. He did not open up the way that we are used to seeing him open up. And I feel like a lot of that had to do with he knew that Ankalaev had a very good ground game and knew that, listen, man, if I open up too much, he's going to duck underneath, take me down. And so he was kind of hesitant to let his strikes off. So there are some things that Alex is going to have to kind of factor into this, right? Because the first fight in fight one, he got outstruck. He got controlled up against the fence. While his takedown defense did look really, really good, I feel like that was kind of the sacrifice that he made, right? Didn't take as many chances on the feet to prevent himself from getting taken down, to where he didn't necessarily give himself the opportunities to have the success that he would need on the feet. So here's kind of the question that I think his team has. Does Alex try to play the same game, or will he be more aggressive, which could lead to him getting the KO or him possibly getting knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev? I think that that's what his camp is wrestling with, man. Like what we've known from Poatan, he's kind of been speed ran through the UFC, right? He came over in his, what was he, 33 when he came over? So he's here for a good time, not particularly a long time, but he's had so many fights, right? Came over a little later, had the long kickboxing career. The UFC knew exactly what they were doing. Speed ran him to Adesanya. He became a huge star, and he's been spectacular at light heavyweight. But he's ran into a guy in Ankalaev that he's just got a troubling skill set, man, because here's the issue, right? Alex is not the same fighter when he's moving backwards, okay? We saw that in the Adesanya rematch, right? While Alex started to have a lot of success against Izzy kind of showed us a little something about Poatan Pereira, right? I know Sean Strickland was putting some pressure on him, backing him up, kind of walking him down. That's not the same thing, right? Izzy was kind of applying that smart pressure, throwing kicks to the body, and it seemed like when he had Alex going on the back foot, Alex wasn't as active, right? And then what we saw Ankalaev do was take the center right away, start to really put his foot on the gas and put Alex on the back foot. And that's pretty obvious, right? Outside of him kind of drifting away and landing the left hook on Sean Strickland, Alex is clearly not the same fighter off of the back foot. He's a lot more predictable. He is the guy that wants to be moving forward, right? And Ankalaev didn't really allow him to do that. He took control of the center. He was dictating the pace. Plus, he didn't throw enough, probably due to the takedown threat and the speed of Ankalaev, because I think that that's one of the things that kind of surprised Alex in this fight. I think he knew that Ankalaev has good striking, but I think that he was truly shocked at just how fast Magomed Ankalaev was able to close the distance and was able to get to his combination. So it's going to be interesting to see what Alex's team comes with. Are they going to try to kind of play the back and forth game like what we saw in round 1, where Alex was landing a lot of the good leg kicks, or in round 5 where he was really getting back to the jab? Because if he goes in and tries to play that game, I think it's going to be very hard to beat Magomed Ankalaev that way, and I feel like Alex is going to have to take some chances in this fight, which, like I said, that of course could lead to him getting a KO, or it could bring him right into range to get knocked out by the speedy Magomed Ankalaev. So here's something important I think that needs to be noted here. Now, I understand that this is kickboxing. This is not MMA. Alex had a very extensive kickboxing career, right? We all know that. But over in Glory, he was actually the king of coming back and avenging his losses, right? When he fought Jason Wilness the first time, he lost by decision, came back 4 years later and was able to knock him out with a devastating flying knee, right? And then he goes out there against Yusri Belgaroy, who is actually one of his training partners now, who's a super tall, rangy striker. Alex lost to him by decision, but then came back, avenged the loss again, got a knockout. Then they ran it for the trilogy, and he was able to knock him out again and put an end to the saga with Yusri Belgaroy. So Alex Pereira's track record when he loses a fight is actually pretty good, right? And again, that's kickboxing, not MMA. And you might say, well, what about the Adesanya fights? Well, he technically was basically up 3-0, beat him once in MMA, and then, lost to Izzy in the fourth fight, right? And Izzy got one on him and then just kind of was like, I'm good, I got my one, right? But overall, we've seen Pereira come back and have the answers, right? He beat Vahitov the first time, lost to him in the rematch. It was a super close fight, right? But at the end of the day, when Alex loses to someone the first time, he comes back and gets the wins. Now, why is that important? Because it clearly shows that he understands kind of what he did wrong, what he needs to change coming into the rematch, and make those necessary adjustments. So I am expecting some adjustments from Alex Pereira coming into the rematch. We're going to talk about those because here's what happened in fight 1, guys. A lot of people kind of cope with this. They're like, oh man, well, Poatan was just so worried about the threat of the takedowns. And I do think that there was a little bit of that, right? He didn't want to get taken down by Ankalaev, didn't want to get controlled on the ground, lose the positions, allow Ankalaev to, start raining down some ground and pound. I understand all of that. But at some point, Pereira is going to have to open up to give himself the chance, because the bottom line is he got outstruck in the first fight. Magomed Ankalaev, he outstruck him on the feet. And I thought what was really impressive was the fact that Poatan was able to stop basically all of the takedowns of Magomed Ankalaev. And if you had asked me coming into that fight, that's the reason that I was basically picking Ankalaev, was because I thought that he would threaten the grappling, would be able to take him down, control him. But I also thought that the striking would be a heavy factor in this fight. And it turns out that it was basically all striking, because Pereira, he had the answers for the grappling. Now, I feel like that was a lot because he didn't open up the same way, right? He was kind of getting put on the back foot. He was a lot more hesitant because he knew if I open up and I start to really let things go, that's going to give Ankh the opportunity to dip underneath and take me down. So what happened? He got outstruck by Magomed Ankalaev, but it wasn't all because of the takedown threat, man. This guy, Magomed Ankalaev, he is fast on the feet. He is very, very cerebral in there, and I feel like people need to finally start coming around. This guy is a very, very high-level striker, man. You don't have to be a 2-time Glory kickboxing champ, dude, to be a good striker in MMA. You just don't have to be. And Magomed Ankalaev, when it comes to MMA, is an outstanding striker. And Alex Pereira found that out in the first fight. So I don't know if Alex kind of underestimated the striking of Ankalaev. I think that he was very worried about the takedown threat, obviously. But I truly believe that he was surprised at how good Ankalaev was on the feet. Because Pereira, he's always been the guy on the feet. Think about it. The Izzy fights, right? Izzy's very, very technical, very good, but Pereira always had the power, right? But when he came up to 205, guys were always trying to take him down, because if they just stood in front of him, they were screwed. Like what he did to Jamal Hill, right? Like how he was able to get to Roundtree, right? Was getting better of the exchanges against Jan Blachowicz. That's why Jan tried to grapple, right? We saw what he did to Yuri Prohaska. So the track record has been Pereira is always the dominant guy on the feet, to where here, he just got outstruck all around by Ankalaev, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how Pereira approaches this, knowing that he really isn't the better striker here. I know that might sound crazy to some people. Outside of the great equalizer, which is the left hook of Pereira, we all know that can knock anyone in the world out, regardless of the weight class. We know that. He's got really good calf kicks. But the bottom line is Magomed Ankalaev was mixing it up really well, man. He really, really was. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pereira is able to address this, because while he stopped the takedowns, he was not able to get off of the fence. Ankalaev did a great job of putting his back up against the octagon side, controlling Alex Pereira, neutralizing him, and it just really started to wear on Poatan throughout the fight, and it won Ankalaev minutes, right? So we're going to see what answers Poatan has this time around to not allow Ankalaev to just control him up against the fence. And then the other issues are this, man. If you're not up against the fence being controlled by Ankalaev, if you're not on the ground, right, you're worried about the takedown threats. There's just so many things that Ankalaev is bringing to where I just feel like it scrambles the brain of Alex Pereira. And even without the threat of the takedown, Ankalaev is a handful on the feet, man, right? We saw him kind of waving that lead hand, dipping, kind of feinting those level changes, which that is all little tricks to play with the mind of Alex Pereira. But the thing that was so obvious to me in this fight was the boxing and the speed difference, man. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. And coming into this fight, I said, don't be surprised if Ankalaev goes out there and outstrikes this guy because he's a better boxer. People are like, you're glazing Ankalaev, man. I'm like, no, I'm just telling you the facts. I'm telling you the facts. Ankalaev's hand speed is the best in the weight class, right? I know we got guys like Dominic Reyes out there, but for what I've seen so far, Ankalaev's hand speed is ridiculous, dude. The way he closes the gap, sets up these combinations, the shifting combinations as he's moving forward. He is a very smart fighter on the feet, man. Give him his credit. And the bottom line is he won the lead hand battle, right? I know people were talking about, well, Poatan was compromised or whatever. I don't really know the whole deal there coming into this fight. But what I saw in the octagon was he got punked with the lead hand battle. And that's not something we've ever seen Alex Pereira really ever happen to him. We saw him controlling Jamal Hill's lead hand, getting the timing, right, to where he then stepped in and threw that left hook. That's a very important distance gauger when there's that southpaw versus orthodox matchup, and especially for a guy like Pereira. He builds his game off of that, gets the jab going, eventually can set up the left hook. He didn't have a lot of success with that in this fight. Ankalaev was grabbing his lead hand, controlling it. I mean, the game plan from Magomed Ankalaev and his team, it was perfect, man. It was absolutely perfect. They neutralized Poatan. They did not allow him to get that lead hand going because for the most part, Alex Pereira really relies on his left hand more than anything else. We see an occasional uppercut. We see an occasional right hand, but it's predominantly the jab and the left hook. And they knew that. So what'd they do? They grabbed the lead hand. They controlled it. They would kind of give him some different rhythms to try to bait out the attacks of Alex Pereira, and then Ankalaev would counter. And here's the bottom line, man. Not only did he win the lead hand battle, but he's sharp. He's technical. He's super fast, and Ankalaev has good fight IQ, man. Super high fight IQ. He showed that. He hurt Alex Pereira really bad on the feet, man. He hurt him really bad on the feet, and the biggest spot was the boxing. There was a clear advantage here. While Pereira may have more power, even though Ankalaev's got a lot of power, I'd still give the power advantage probably to Poatan. The speed difference was crazy, dude. It was absolutely crazy. So there was a big gap here that Poatan, he's not going to be able to close. You don't just gain speed overnight, right? And he's a big guy, man, for the weight class. Poatan, how he ever made 185, I don't know. He's a massive 205er. And that left hook, we know if it lands, it can hurt anybody. But he wasn't able to get to it because Ankalaev knew it was coming, and the speed of him getting in and out of range, he just wasn't there. He wasn't there to be hit. So it's going to be interesting to see how Poatan addresses this, right? We saw him doing a bunch of boxing sparring before. Ankalaev's different. The threat of the takedown, you add in all these different elements, the kicking game of Ankalaev, he just brings a full mixed martial arts skill set that just feels like it freezes Poatan, man. There's just so many things for Alex to worry about here. To where with Ankalaev, what does he have to worry about? The calf kicks and a left hook, right? So it just feels like Pereira's a little bit outgunned. Right? And the kicking game, right, where Poatan really has exposed a lot of guys, especially in the heavier weight classes, is what he was known for against Israel Adesanya was just beating up the legs, man, attacking the calves. Whether you're a southpaw or orthodox fighter, he has a way to get to that lead calf, man. Hinders your movement, makes you a stationary target to where he could then hunt you down. You can't move as well, and then he could trap you in and knock you out and get to those big punches. He was landing a lot of good kicks early on against Magomed Ankalaev, and then he kind of got away from him. Because why? Magomed Ankalaev started to time him. He started to catch, when Alex would throw him, he'd step in and land a shot. He started to not give away those free kicks where Poatan was getting away with them early, and Ankalaev has shown that he really doesn't defend leg kicks well. At times, we'll see him kind of think about checking them, but overall, I mean, these kicks just kept landing, and I was like, he's already eaten so many kicks, and then eventually started to answer with the boxing. So that's how he's going to try to answer these kicks, man. Step in, no kicks for free. That's what Ankalaev tried to do, and he started to have a lot of success with that. That's why I think Alex got away from the kicking game. And then we also saw when you throw kicks, you're a little bit out of position. Even though when Alex throws his kicks, he doesn't really turn all the way over, so he's not super out of position, but you're still out of position when you throw kicks to a degree. And that's what Ankalaev would close the distance and capitalize. Right? And Ankalaev, outside of some of those calf kicks landing from Poatan, we saw Ankalaev landing some good kicks. He was landing good front kicks, good push kicks up the middle that were sending Alex Pereira across the octagon. Then he was kind of walking forward with the marching knees, throwing some good leg kicks of his own. Threatening with kicks to the body, kicks upstairs. I mean, Ankalaev was throwing so much at him, man. Feinting those level changes, waving the hands around, throwing these combinations, mixing in kicks. I mean, he's just throwing a full arsenal at Poatan. And to see him go out there and land the kicks that he was landing, I mean, Ankalaev, man, this guy's a high-level striker. So those fans out there that are like, no, he's just a grappler. He clearly isn't. And even without the threat of the grappling, he's still a nightmare on the feet for a guy like Poatan because of the speed and the boxing skills. So it's going to be interesting, man, because the grappling, I was actually really surprised at how well Alex did in this fight, right? If you would have told me that Alex Pereira would have defended all the takedowns, I'd be like, well, then he probably wins the fight, right? Because that was my biggest things, right? I picked Ankalaev coming into this fight because I was like, okay, I think he's going to have some success on the feet, but if Poatan starts to get the better, then he'll just level change and take him down. But it clearly showed that Pereira, while I think that was him just not opening up enough because of the speed of Ankalaev on the feet, and every time Poatan did open up, he was getting countered because we know Ankalaev has excellent counter striking, right? And when people talk about Ankalaev, he's boring, this and that, a lot of his fights became a little bit stale because guys got so afraid to come after him because he started knocking everyone the hell out. So guys would kind of sit on the back foot like Rakic, and they would just run away. So then Ankalaev's got to chase them down. And Ankalaev's a counter striker. He is a striker, man. He has good grappling, but he is absolutely a striker. So it's time for Poatan fans to wake up and start realizing you're not just dealing with, oh, this guy's a grappler and his striking's only landing because of the grappling. That's not at all. He's a very good striker, man. And then the fact that he does have the grappling to threaten and push you up against the fence and take away your explosiveness, it's a problem. Right, but the fact that Poatan stopped the takedowns was very encouraging. Very encouraging to where maybe now he's going to have a little bit of a different confidence coming into this fight, knowing that, hey, he couldn't take me down. He held me up against the fence. Poatan even landed a nice sweep or trip or whatever up against the fence the one time against Ankalaev. Maybe we see Pereira try to grapple a little more. I don't think we'll have a lot of success because Ankalaev's a hard guy to take down. And I still give Ankalaev the edge there for sure. But maybe we see Pereira try to throw something different at him. Try to kind of scramble the brain of Ankalaev maybe. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, man. Because I was actually very impressed with the takedown defense of Alex Pereira. But I feel like that's something that hurt him in this fight was he was so worried about getting taken down that it kind of made him freeze a little bit. But then there's the other side of, well, Ankalaev was fast. He was closing the gap so quickly. He was making Alex pay every time he did something. Right? And he was putting pressure on him. He was bullying Alex around the octagon, not allowing Alex to be the bully. And then neutralizing him up against the fence, winning minutes, controlling him, wearing on him, chipping away at him. So we're going to see how this grappling stuff plays out in this fight because I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see if Ankalaev can get him in these positions. Does Alex have the answer to get off the fence, to get off the octagon side, get back to space? Or will Ankalaev control him here? And if Alex is more aggressive, does that open up more takedown opportunities for Ankalaev, man? It's going to be fascinating to see because here's what I'm expecting in this fight here, right? So it's very interesting to me kind of how the first fight played out, right? It's similar to what I was kind of expecting. I expected Ankalaev to have more success in terms of getting the fight to the floor, and he didn't, which is a shout out to how good Poatan has, came along the way in terms of the takedown defense and overall skills, right? People look at Alex Pereira as he's just a kickboxer. This guy's got good takedown skills, man. He's got pretty good grappling as well. Takedown defense, I meant. Right, and even his overall grappling. He's been working with Glover Teixeira for forever. He was working with Glover while he was at Glory before coming over to MMA. So what am I expecting to see in this fight? I'm expecting to see an aggressive Alex Pereira. I think that early we're going to see Poatan play a similar game to what he did in round number 1, and I think he's going to try to add some of the things that he was doing in round number 5 as well earlier on in the fight, right? Because his corner was like, come on, man, where's the jab? We got to get the lead hand going. We got to get active here. And once he started to throw the jab in round 5, I mean, he was thumping Magomed Ankalaev up a little bit with it, right? And that was one of the better rounds for Pereira. Especially round 1, he got the calf kicks going, right? But where Ankalaev was able to hurt him was that when Alex Pereira would kind of freeze, he'd get out of position, maybe kind of overthink something, then boom, Ankalaev would catch him and hurt him, sting him, get him moving backwards. Pereira's got to be the one moving forward, man. He's got to be the one moving forward. Forward pressure, being aggressive, not too overly aggressive to where Ankalaev can get on his hips and take him down, because that's a bad place to be. Even though Ankalaev's not the greatest threat on the ground in terms of the submission game, he's still got solid ground and pound, but that'll also wear on Pereira. Being on bottom, trying to scramble up, those are tiring things. So I think he's going to have to open up more, because if he tries to play the points game and try to just, go out there and play it kind of safe like he did in fight 1, he's going to find himself losing another decision to Magomed Ankalaev. But then there's the other side, man, where if he comes out more aggressive, he increases his chances, I think, of catching Magomed Ankalaev, but then he also increases his chances of getting knocked the hell out by Ankalaev because of the speed, because of the precision and the accuracy that Ank brings to the table. This is a fascinating rematch, man. A fascinating rematch. And like I said, Alex Pereira, he knows how to make adjustments. We saw even when he beat Yuri Prochazka the first time, when they booked the rematch, he went out there and smoked Yuri in the rematch. It wasn't even close. There were close moments in the first fight. The rematch, there were none. So Alex Pereira, and even though he got KO'd by Izzy in the second MMA fight, he was doing really well there until he got baited in and then countered. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys approach each other. But what am I expecting? I'm expecting an aggressive Alex Pereira. I think he'll be cautious early. He's going to make it a point to move forward, not be afraid of being taken down, knowing that his takedown defense held up well in fight number 1. And I think that if he's on the front foot, moving forward, backing up Ankalaev, getting the calf kicks going, getting that active lead hand, jab to the body, bringing it upstairs to try to set up the left hook, I actually really like Alex Pereira's chances to get this one done in the rematch. But I've been saying this for the longest time. These are the two best guys in the weight class. It's why I always wanted the fight to happen. It was being delayed, and it felt like the UFC was protecting Alex Pereira a little bit, whatever, was going on. Magomed Ankalaev, to me, just has so many things that he can threaten Poatan with, man. He's got the striking, he's got the speed, he's got the IQ, he's got the grappling, he's got the clinch work, to where I think that he could just scramble the brain of Alex Pereira and get him second-guessing himself. Because I feel like Alex could do all the thinking he wants, and I think the more aggressive he is, that's just going to play into the hands of Ankalaev. Because if you go back and watch the old Ankalaev fights, especially earlier in his career, that's why guys stopped, entertaining really going after him. That's why you saw Rakic run from him, right? And that's why, Ankalaev's boring. It's because guys stopped going after him because they would get sniped with a left hand. He's got a fast left hand, man. And those shifting combinations, Alex Pereira doesn't move his head very well. Just hides behind the long guard, gets lazy defensively, gets out of position because he's gotten away with that against a lot of guys that are slower, not as good as strikers. Ankalaev is fast. He'll make you pay for that, as he did in fight number 1. I'm expecting the same type of approach from Ankalaev. He hurt Alex Pereira really bad, and I think that it's just a matter of if Alex is more aggressive, which I feel like that's what he's going to have to do, it's just going to be one of those things where he goes out there and gets that KO, or he's going to get KO'd by Magomed Ankalaev. I think that we see a smart tactical approach by both guys early, and then eventually we're going to see Alex put his foot on the gas, realizing that, okay, I'm probably going to lose a decision here. We're going to get some aggression, and then someone is getting knocked out. I believe that an early prediction, I think Magomed Ankalaev is eventually going to KO Alex Pereira in this fight, because it's just one of those predicaments, man, where it's like, do you want to just go out there and lose this decision again? Or do you want to go out there and give yourself that opportunity? You throw yourself in the fire to where you can either survive it or you're going to get burned. And I feel like that's kind of what this all boils down to for Alex Pereira, because Ankalaev, he doesn't really have any adjustments to necessarily make. He fought a perfect fight the first time and is going to be on Poatan now to make the necessary adjustments to be prepared for Ankalaev. Just know, when you get more aggressive against Ankalaev, that's when this guy is really at his most dangerous, as we saw him rock Alex Pereira in fight number 2. This is a fascinating rematch. I'm super excited for this, man. Like I said, I think Alex Pereira has a lot more of a shot than what people are giving him in this rematch. He knows how to make adjustments. If he takes some things that he was doing from round 1 and round 5 and applies them for earlier in the fight and stays consistent with them, more front kicks up the middle, mixing things up, I think he gives himself a very good opportunity. But I think he's going to come in aggressive. And like I said, it feels like he has to do that. But I feel like that might end up getting him KO'd in this rematch. Super excited for this fight, man. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. See you next time.